Welcome to the top of Watson Lake Park in Prescott, Arizona. So in the previous segment, I set up my flight plan on my iPad with DJI's Ground Station Pro. So now we're out here today where the disc golf course is, and actually right behind the camera is one of the baskets, so I'll turn the camera around in a minute. I've got most of my drone gear just about set up. The flight plan is ready to go. So in a couple of minutes, we're going to launch and we're going to start documenting nearly 40 acres. So we're going to do 2 passes today. We're going to see if we can get away with 2 passes. So we're going to do south to north, so the camera is going to be facing north the entire time with Ground Station Pro. And then I'm going to be doing east to west with the camera facing toward the west. So we'll skip the other 2 setups and see how well Pix4D does with only 2 passes. All right, before we disappear, let me move around and you can get a look at the gear out here. And all right, so there we go. We've got the DJI Mavic Pro, we've got the controller and a holder for my iPad mini. There's the iPad mini. And finally, let's just take a look right over here. So there is one of the disc golf baskets. This is one of the newly added baskets in the past year. So this is a full 18-hole course out here. So this should be a really interesting mapping project. We've got a gorgeous lake here, and we've got some amazing granite formations. So all right, next part we'll pick up when the drone is launching.
Okay, 7 minutes, that's better. 148 photos. And
Then activate it. Yesterday, the Arizona drone team went out to Watson Lake Park in Prescott, Arizona to try out the missions that we had set up a few days ago on Ground Station Pro to make a model of the disc golf course on Watson Lake. What you're looking at here is an intermediate result. We didn't run this on high resolution, but we are now in Pix4D Mapper, and we're actually using the Pix4D model program. Pix4D offers a lot of solutions for aerial data collection. And so we're using one of the simplest ones that they have available. We're just trying to do a 3D model. And we're going to talk about Pix4D Mapper, so don't think I'm jumping too far ahead. I just wanted to quickly show you what the model turned out to be. On the left-hand side here, I'm going to turn off the cameras, I'm going to turn off the rays and the tie points, and I'm going to stick with the triangle mesh only. So what you're looking at here is 40 acres of Watson Lake Park. And we see some roads in here, we see a couple little gazebos down here, and whoops, I did not mean to click onto that one. And we also see some parking areas. So I'm going to go ahead and zoom in here. And I'm on a Macintosh, so I'm right-clicking and dragging. We can actually see parking spaces for the boat launch, which is just a little further down here. So taking a look, there's actually a boat launch down here. But hole number 1 for the disc golf course is right here. This pad right here is actually heading up to hole number 1. I can click and drag, and somewhere in here, we didn't capture the full detail because I have not run the full detailed report yet because it takes so long. Somewhere in this area, the first basket exists. And right over to the left of that, you can see launch pad number 2, which is heading up into this area here, and then launch pad number 3 for hole number 3, and so on. I'm going to zoom this back out. So we did manage to cover the entire course, and we were actually running the mission from up top here, and right here you can see my little helipad. You can also see a gazebo area that people use throughout the year for different events on Watson Lake. Now this is a 3D model, so I'm tilting it down, and as you can see, if I move over here, we've got another pad right here for another one of the holes. So the mission was successful, so this was a good product, and we can actually use this later for marking out the entire disc golf course. And the golf course heads out into the rocks out here and heads along the rocky shoreline. And so the coverage was very good. So I'm going to go ahead and close this. We're going to talk about how we set this up with Pix4D Mapper. So I'm going into my applications and I'm running down to Pix4D Mapper. Now we captured the images with Ground Station Pro and we did multiple passes, and I actually tested out several of the passes. So these are some old projects. I did a disc golf east-west, and then I did a full course, and I've got several other projects. But what we're going to do for now, we're going to do a new project, and we're going to call this Disc Golf Demo. Okay? And we're going to put that into our Pix4D folder that's in our Documents folder on the Macintosh. It works very similar on Windows as well. So we're going to do this as a new project, and I'm going to hit Next. And the next item that it wants is we need to add some images. So those are the images that were taken with the Mavic Pro, and I actually created a folder with all of the images. So the first 147 images are from our south to north. So we were flying from the south to the north with the camera facing north the whole time. So there's 147 images right there. And if we want to include both passes, we need to get all the way down to the 464. We're not going to do that. We're going to stop, cancel, and we're just, for purposes of being quicker here, we're going to do that first 147. So we're grabbing this, and we're going to open all of those files. So now we've added all of these images, and we can click on Next. Now it's getting the data from the images that were taken, and it's actually using geolocation. All of the images were included with GPS information, and so we're going to go with standard geolocation accuracy. And I'm going to go ahead and hit Next. And now we can do our units of measurement and also our GPS information, so it already knows the UTM zone that we're in, which is really nice. And now we've got two options here. So we could do a full 3D model, which is going to be high resolution rendering, or we can do 3D models rapid and low resolution. And doing that, you can quickly see whether or not you had a successful mission. So we also have a Start Processing Now button, which I'm going to click off, but normally that's clicked on and it will automatically start processing for you. I'm going to go ahead and say Finish here. And now we can see on the map view, so on the left-hand side, we have a map view. And we see all of the points that we collected with the drone. So what I'm going to do up here, I'm going to zoom in just a little bit. So here's all the points that we collected running from south to north with the camera facing toward the north. And let me see here. We have not started processing anything. So on the left-hand lower corner, we have a processing options. Now, as you remember, when I just made this new project, I told it I wanted rapid. So I could change these settings in here to full, rapid, or we could do custom, and that will impact the image sizes that we're using as reference points. Rapid goes very quick, and it's a fast way to find out did we do a good job. And by very quick, I mean it still takes over an hour. Doing the full-sized processing and full-sized cloud mesh, depending on your computer, you could be looking at hours or maybe even days. On this particular iMac, this is a new iMac. It's a fall 2017 iMac with 8 gigs of RAM. Doing the full model with two passes, east-west and south-north. I started it running at 9 p.m. and it finished running through about 7 a.m. So 10 hours of processing time. On rapid, it's going to go a lot faster, but you're just not going to have a high level of detail. We're going to leave that on rapid right now. And next thing we're going to do is go to the point cloud and textured mesh. So once again, if we're doing the high-speed one, we're doing 1/4 image size, so that's fast. Half image size is normally the default for Pix4D. And then if you wanted to get full image size for as much detail as possible, you'd be doing original image size. And on slower machines, you'll be waiting for quite some time. So we're going to leave that on 1/4. Then we go over to the textured mesh, and that's going to be our cool detail on our 3D model. So we want to generate the textured mesh. We're doing medium resolution because that's a default. And we can also export these files for use in other programs like Photoshop or SketchUp or Sketchfab. So we do have several outputs. Now on the higher end version of Pix4D for mapping and for construction, we have even more choices and more opportunities to work with the data. And we can also do digital elevation models and orthomosaic models, but this is not available in the plain Pix4D model program. So now that we've got everything set up, we can say OK. And so we know what we want it to do. And looking down here, we have initial processing in red and point cloud and mesh in red. They're ready to go, but they haven't started yet. So when we hit the start button here, start processing, and now what's going to happen is Pix4D is going to start looking at the camera alignments. So see how all these red dots are going green. So first they're finding their place in the universe, you could say. And once this part is done, it will start going through the alignment of camera to camera. Now this can take quite a bit of time, which is why I showed you a final product when we first started this up, because we're not going to sit here and watch through this. But so what we can say from this whole tutorial set, GroundStation Pro is an effective way to capture data for doing 2D and 3D modeling. And the results are pretty darn good. One of the big things is that this is very time consuming, it's processor intensive, it's memory intensive. So you're going to be looking for a higher end machine if you're going to start processing large 3D maps and models. Now I will also say that the fewer points you have, if you're just modeling, let's say, a house or maybe the gazebo that we saw earlier, this will go a lot faster with fewer images if you're doing smaller areas, and the detail comes across a lot better. Just as an example, I'm going to go ahead and cancel this. So we're not going to process this whole thing. This was just to give you an idea of the processing, and you can experiment with it. The really nice thing, Pix4D does offer a full version for trial for 14 days. So it's definitely worthwhile. So I'm going to go into open project here just to show you one other item. So I am now looking for another one of our recent ones, and I'm not finding it. So I'm going to close Pix4D Mapper because I know where I can show you another version. Not only do you have the standalone version on desktop, Pix4D also offers cloud services. So you can log into their cloud. So I'm going to go to Pix4D here. And you can process your models on the Pix4D cloud as well, which allows you to share with clients and other interested parties, which is awesome. So there we go. I've got a disc golf course one. But what I wanted to show you was the 3D Watson bath. So just for fun, I wanted to do a model of a building. And in this case, I didn't use GroundStation Pro. Instead, I used another automated application called Litchi. And I used Litchi's orbit mode to do a 360 orbit, 36 photos of this particular bathhouse. And as you can see, this didn't come out too bad at all. I also have some measuring points in here. I decided to do some measurements and some areas. And let's just pan around this model. So this was a very, very quick model. Which is why we still have some problems in the model detail on the shadow side of the building. It also picked up the light post next to the building, which was pretty cool. And so I'm just moving back around here. So with Pix4D model, you can make some pretty slick 3D models. What was really nice on distance here, so I measured the distance from the edge of this concrete slab back to where it's going into the bathroom area. And the distance came up as 19.3 feet. And I did bring a tape measure back out to check it out. And it is 19 feet from this edge back to the edge of this one. So pretty darn close, 19.03 feet. And that is just from aerial image data collected with a Mavic Pro drone doing a 360 circle with the gimbal tilted about 45 degrees. And the drone was flying at about 60 feet above ground level. And so this model took only a few moments to fly and capture, and it rendered pretty quickly on Pix4D Cloud and pretty quickly on the Pix4D desktop application. All right, I hope this gives you an idea of working with Ground Station Pro for flight planning and using Pix4D to develop your 3D models.